Dudes, welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 8 fragrances for life. This is real. I really did go through my entire collection and I picked fragrances that I really thought I would need for the rest of my life. I ended up with about 19 or 20. These are 8 of them that I really would, if I ran out, I would buy another bottle. If they were discontinued, I'd go on eBay. This is not a fake list. These are 8 fragrances for the rest of my life. I love these fragrances. Okay, fragrance number 1. This is BroadAlba. I adore this fragrance. I don't talk about it very much, but I think it is a masterpiece. I did get really surprised when I first bought it because everybody talked about soapy and clean. And I was like, okay, soapy and clean. And didn't really understand how that would be appealing. But at the same time, to me, soap was like bar soap back in the day. You know, it didn't really have a sweet smell to it at all. And then I got it, and it's very ambery, and it does have a subtle sweetness to it. And I really liked that. But another thing that confused me about it was I kept hearing so much hype. Soapy and clean, it's great. And then I went online. I looked at the Fragrantica notes, and they were all florals. Like it's neroli, violet, and iris. And I knew nothing about fragrances. And I'm like, there's a bunch of flowers. How is this going to smell soapy and clean? Well, I didn't know. Was it neroli is a little bit bitter, and a violet is very clean, and that iris is powdery and kind of neutral smelling. But anyway, it all worked out. I adore this fragrance. It was hyped for a very good reason. This is a masterpiece. Number 2, this is Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum Boisé. Take it away, Demi.
This is Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum Boisé. I have no words for this scent. It is spectacular. For me, it almost kind of reminds me a little bit of La Nuit de l'Homme with iris. It is intoxicating, you guys.
Okay, so that was Demi Rawling. That's from a recent video of hers, Holy Grail Fragrances for Men. Demi is a very popular YouTuber. She's gotten sponsors and she's gone a little bit away from YouTube now, but you know, she's made something of herself and she does know what she's talking about. She also has a lot of courage. I think for her to say nice things about this, given the fact that every other fragrance on the list was an expensive niche, I mean, she stuck her neck out a bit, you know, and I'm doing the same thing here because I do agree with her about this fragrance. It's probably my favorite in the line. I don't have Reserve Privé, but I've tested it twice at my local pharmacy. I've tested all the other ones, and I do have the EDP. I like the fact that there's a woodiness here. It has some sweetness as well. It's got cocoa and patchouli, and the patchouli can be done in a sort of chocolatey way. So you combine that with the cocoa pods, and then you do get a little bit of a chocolatey vibe. So, you know, it doesn't have tons of vanilla, but it's still a little sweet, and it's got iris and there's spices. It's just really nice. I really like this fragrance, and it's really nice that she finally called it out. This one is the black sheep of the family. Doesn't get enough love. Okay, number 3, George the Fragrance Apprentice is probably my favorite YouTube channel. He's come back, so he's got a couple of videos. But a year ago, he did a really interesting video where for the very first time, I saw him shaken, actually, a little bit. Now, he did work for Creed, and his favorite fragrance was Milestone Imperial. And he tried Armaf's Club de Nuit Milestone, and he did a really long segment on how good the clone was compared to the original. It seemed to really annoy him, and he's kind of started wondering at that point what's going to happen to the fragrance industry. Now, I hadn't tried Milestone. You know, there's a lot of Apprentice clones out there. There was no clone that really blew me away until this. Holy crap. I got a chill down my spine when I tried this. Not just for really liking it, but I was like, oh my God, what are fragrance companies going to do? Because this is a clone of Sauvage Elixir, super expensive. This was released in the same year. They came out with this right away, and it's magnificent. And like Elixir is a very difficult fragrance, I would imagine, to clone because there's so many different elements to it. you know, the lot of freshness in the opening, and then you got a ton of lavender, and then you mix with the gourmands in the base. And then, you know, within 6 months or 8 months or whatever, they came out with this really good performance, super cheap, and it smelled very similar. Now, is it a 100% clone? No. I think Lattafa was smart. What they did was they thought, okay, look, we're going to leave the freshness alone. We're going to go for the meat of the fragrance, which is the lavender. And they created a lavender with a couple of other accords. There's no actual lavender note. And then the gourmand, like the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the licorice, that kind of thing. They focused on that, the part that people really like. Boy, I'm really wondering. Now, this is not the only fragrance that's phenomenal with the new clones. This is the first one that I noticed. There have been a couple others since, and I don't really know. I don't really know what fragrance companies are going to do. Is it going to destroy innovation? Because, like, why, you know, make something innovative when people are just going to copy it? I don't know. But, yeah, this one, whew. This is Luna Rosa Carbon by Prada. And this one is, I think, by far the best of the Dior Sauvage style colognes, which have ambroxan, bergamot, and black pepper. What Prada did here was, I think, make this more wearable for people that are a little bit older or a little bit saner. It doesn't have the beast mode crazy performance, and you don't get hit in the face with that real peppery feel. They added the smooth Prada lavender. Now, I got reacquainted with actually, it's a Luna Rosa lavender. I got reacquainted with it when I tried the original Luna Rosa. I have a travel spray of it. I tried it again recently, and it is focusing completely on the lavender. And Prada does smooth lavender really well. They exhibit it throughout the Luna Rosa line. And as soon as I tried the original, I'm like, this reminds me of something. And I do think that's what Carbon did to get the smoother feel. They also added metallic notes, but this is like Sauvage for like a more sophisticated, more laid back guy, you know, maybe a guy with a little, I don't know, a little bit of money. I really like this fragrance. I'm getting really tired. Every time I talk about this fragrance, I go over the top. This is Mercedes-Benz Club Black. Now, I checked the price again before I did the video. This is $49 at the North American discounters, which I still think is ridiculous, given how good this is. I was trying to figure out what it is that I really like about this fragrance so much, and I think I figured it out. It's that it is a really smooth vanilla for men. This is a masculine vanilla done perfectly, because vanilla can come off like something too sweet, can come off a little feminine. Not this guy. They use incense and benzoin, and so it's got a little bit of bite. It's definitely a masculine style fragrance. I can see women wearing it, but only certain types of women. The only thing wrong with this is the packaging, and that reflects what it was really meant to be, was just a cheap car brand fragrance. But no, this one is fantastic. This is Dolce & Gabbana, The One Gentleman. And they did exactly what I would have done if I wanted to create a modern, gentlemanly fragrance. It had to have vanilla. Like, the modern fragrances have so much more vanilla than even like 15 years ago. You know, like they've all got a lot of vanilla, or ambroxan on the fresh side, right? So they have a lot of vanilla here, but they balanced it beautifully with black pepper and cardamom. So the spicy balances the vanilla. Then they put it in a beautiful bottle. They gave it a little bit of lavender too. Lavender is a sort of a gentlemanly, a little bit old-fashioned of a note, but there's plenty of vanilla here. There's plenty of spices. It is a perfect gentleman's fragrance, but a modern gentleman, this is not old school in any way because of vanilla. Now, the only problem with this for me is it goes on deep and rich and spicy, and I think, man, this is going to last forever. And the only flaw here is it doesn't. You know, I get about 4 hours. I get about 20 minutes of projection. The performance here is a little off, but the scent itself I adore. Another fragrance that's been modernized, this is Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. And if you look at the sort of history of leather fragrances. Leather used to be like really harsh and kind of smelly, actually, back in the day. And then in 2007, they came out with Tuscan leather by Tom Ford. It smoothed things right out. But this is even more accessible than Tuscan leather. This is a little sweeter. They added some amber, and then they added some jasmine, which has a sweet quality. And so the jasmine and the leather work together. Oh, it is sweet. Every time I smell it, holy crap. Like, it's way sweeter than I expect. But when you spray it on, it does definitely smell like a sweet, clean leather, like a new car kind of thing, and a phenomenal performance. But yeah, this, I think, is leather for 2023. I think it's an awesome fragrance. And finally, we've got leather done in a different way. This is Noir Ombre by Issey Miyake. Now, this is a leather fragrance, but it's not just leather. This is primarily leather. This one is leather with sweetness and spices. So the sweetness, like, they threw everything at the wall with the sweetness. They've got tonka, they've got amber and vanilla. Now, they go heavy on the amber, but they balance it with cinnamon. And this has a spicy cinnamon quality to it as well, and saffron to give it some freshness. So this is a sweet and spicy leather fragrance with great performance. It's got enough freshness that you can wear it in a lot of situations. It doesn't have to be entirely a dark fragrance. But the leather, that's where the noir part comes from. It's kind of dark that way. Oh, jeez. Some of these fragrances, man, I need to smell more because that smells amazing. Anyway, these really are, I know you don't believe me, these really are fragrances for life. 8 of them. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Take it easy.